Okay, the next question is also coming from Lori Lozelle.
This is directed at both of you. Involves the case of Jason Vassell, the long-running case involving the prosecution of former UMass student Jason Vassell, and the treatment of the two men who engaged in a fight with him is finally settled. But it has left behind a lingering belief on the part of not a small number of people in the community that the DA's office overzealously went after a black defendant while treating two white men with kid gloves. Fair or not, the next DA will have to deal with these lingering suspicions. Do you think this view of the situation has any validity? And also, what will you do as DA to mend these fences?
Michael would be the first to respond.
One of the responsibilities of the district attorney is to first look at the facts of a particular case and to apply the law to the facts of the case without any regard to a person's race, ethnicity, any of those factors. You need to look specifically at the facts and make decisions. Certainly, the Vassell case has garnered a lot of attention. There are many people who believe that there were problems. I think what it does is it provides a situation for the community to become involved and to voice their opinions. And certainly, as the district attorney, as an elected official, you do need to listen to the constituency and to listen to what their concerns are. What I will do as district attorney is to start a human rights board, an advisory board, to listen to people from the community so they can bring their concerns. I also want to make sure that law enforcement is fully trained so that, again, they're making decisions based on facts alone. I think that the difficulty comes is with certain cases, you can't just put your finger to the wind and see which way the political winds are blowing. Again, you have to make decisions based on facts. We have, as prosecutors, an ethical obligation to follow the facts where they take us, and I'll continue to do that as DA.
The Jason Vassell case had a series of judgment calls that was made by the Northwestern District Attorney's Office. The first judgment call was that a young man, African American with no prior record, who lived at UMass, was held without the right to bail. And that was inappropriate, and Michael made that call. The next call was that only one person in this altercation was charged, and eventually one other person was charged, but there was an inequality of charging in this case, and that was an error of judgment. And then the court itself ordered that 5,000 cases be pulled because there was a prima facie case of selective prosecution based upon race. And that raised an incredible issue in the community about whether there was racial bias in the way that not only this case was being handled, but other cases. This is going to have to get resolved by the next district attorney. Someone's going to have to look at this and say it's either true or not true, and be real about it. And we need a civil rights advisory board that's going to be active. The Civil Rights Advisory Board for the Northwestern District Attorney's Office is defunct, and it didn't do anything in this particular case. This case was settled by a dismissal. It should have been handled within the first 6 months, but wasted resources and absolute lack of judgment was exercised in this case throughout the 2.5 years of this case. And the Jason Vassell case is just another case that's come through the district attorney's office that they've wasted resources. How many people were spent in the DA's office pulling these files, filing motions to the Supreme Judicial Court to fight a case that ended up in a dismissal? And if we're going to have cases settled, let's settle them early on. Let's work on serious crime. Let's make sure our resources are spent wisely. Make sure that the taxpayers get every nickel out of the Northwestern District Attorney's Office. I'm going to address this issue as the next district attorney.
Because of the specific criticism in your reply, we're going to grant Michael a minute to respond, and then also give you another minute to respond again.
I think it's very important for people to know the facts before they make any judgment. And certainly, as a district attorney, that's where we operate as facts. And in this particular situation, I did make a judgment call that there should be a dangerousness hearing held, where a judge makes a decision as to whether or not a person is dangerous and should be held or released. I filed that motion, the court acted on it. This is an adversarial process. A defendant is represented by a defense attorney, a judge is there to make the ultimate decision, but the job of the district attorney is to stand up for victims of cases. And in this situation, when I make decisions, I make them based on the facts that I know at that point. And what I knew is that there was 2 people in the hospital who had been stabbed. And that's what decisions are based on. You have to make quick decisions. You go with the facts that you are, and as things evolve, things change. There also has to be sharing of information by defense attorneys. If they sit back and withhold information, that's why cases don't move as fast as they should through the system. It goes both ways.
Thank you, Michael. Now a minute to you, David, if you'd like to take it.
The 2 individuals that were involved were out-of-towners. They had assault and they had checkered past with respect to racial incidents back in their hometown. The district attorney's office was aware of that background. With respect to the calls that are made, those calls that are made to charge are very important. And the district attorney's office had a lot of time between when this incident happened and when it was sent to the grand jury. And that's the time that the district attorney and his or her staff get their team together, get all the facts together, which the district attorney's office had at that point in time, and make that judgment call. So it's not only the initial judgment call that was made, but it was the following judgment calls that needed to be made early on so that we didn't waste all these resources and we didn't raise this specter of racial discrimination in our Northwestern District Attorney's Office.
Thank you, David.